Hello, everyone. My name is Derrick Ivey. I'm a board certified clinical hypnotherapist, researcher, and intuitive. I'm here today to talk about being a part of the new earth, what that means about healing ourselves, helping others heal, and then spreading that light everywhere. So let's get right into this. Thank you for being a part of this here today and joining me. And if you're watching videos like this, I know that it's important to you to be a part of the change and be a part of the good in the world. We live in a world right now that really there's a lot of different things going on many different levels. Many people are going through struggles in their personal life. Many people are facing financial edges that they've never been to before. We see that happening on a much bigger global scale too, don't we? Where even big corporations are going out and things are shifting. Money's shifting. The way that we do things as human beings is shifting. The world order is shifting. So, if you've been around the spiritual movement for any longer length of time, then you probably heard the concept of a new Earth and 5D new Earth. So let's talk a little bit about what is that and how does it apply to you, because I guarantee you it applies to everyone who wants to live in the light. So let's get started. The new Earth is, we can think of it very, very simply, and that is the new earth is vibrations of love and a grid with timelines that are raised to that level of love. 3D is where we've been for a really long time, and that is the constructs of fear and of control and not valuing everyone as equal in their light. So 5D New Earth is it's a shifting in consciousness. It's where there's going to be a lot more unbridled creativity. People are going to be encouraged to really be themselves. They're going to be encouraged to shine their light. Whereas in the past, people have been encouraged to not share their voice and to follow certain people and what they say you should do and this and that. So we the vision for a new earth is essentially that there's going to be so much love, and we have transcended all of those lower energies of fear, of just anything that's not love. And we have to transcend all of that together. As humans, we were made to connect with each other, to help each other, to, we're all cells in God's body, is one way to look at it. One of my old spiritual mentors always told me to look at things like that. Like, you are a cell in God's body. And now, what happens if some of these cells go off and start reproducing in weird ways? But this happens with consciousness. So let's say that you are constantly in these vibrations of anger and these vibrations of hatred, then that's almost like creating cancer in God's body or the universe's body, however you want to look at that, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to spread the love and we want to transcend those lower energies of fear, of hatred, of being better than someone else, or even sometimes we turn it on ourselves and think that we're worse than everyone else. That's a construct and fear also. The real clear way of being for 5D New Earth is going to be celebrating everyone that you are a divine being. I am a divine being, and not exerting power over other people just because we can or we're in a position to do so, right? So it starts with us. And the way that we start shifting as a collective into this 5D consciousness of New Earth is we start looking at what is inside of us that's coming up that needs to be worked through, that needs to be reintegrated or soothed. And we're going to stop placing blame in the new earth. We're going to stop placing blame on all of these other people being the cause of our issues and of these things coming up in us. So think about if someone makes you really angry or upset, you it's very easy to point the finger and say, I'm upset because that person did this, and I wouldn't have been upset if that person wouldn't have done that. But the truth of the matter is, what we're trying to do is go beyond blaming individuals because it's so much bigger than that. We're all belongings of the collective unconscious. That if you were to put all of our consciousness in one big soup or pot and you stirred all of that up, that's the collective unconscious. So not only all of the thoughts that you have on a daily basis are in there, but all of the thoughts your ancestors had, all of the thoughts your predecessors have, um, they're all in there, right? And they're just kind of floating around until something hits a thorn inside of us, and then that thorn activates that energy. But that energy actually is not even ours. But we do have the power to transcend it. We have the power to shift patterns in whole new ways that we never might have known that we had that much power, but we do, and all of us do. So if you get triggered by something, if that brings something up within you, well, now that's yours to look at. Now that's yours to take full responsibility of your own well-being and transcend that energy, be present with it, love it. Look at it as the energy and not as something that this other person did to you. And that's how we're going to come together in the new earth is we're going to, as a collective, begin to realize that this energy is not someone else's fault. And we're going to start all working together to transcend that energy out of the collective unconscious. So, this is how it changes people's heart. Let's say that someone was very, very angry seemingly at you, but we know as spiritual studiers and warriors, we know that we're never quite upset for the reason we think. So, but let's say someone thinks that they're very, very upset at you and they lash out. Well, what's going to happen if you're unconscious about this is your anger is going to bump up against that other person's anger. or your jealousy is going to bump up against someone else's energies and nothing gets solved. There's going to be this energetic dance that happens that's already been played out a million times with other people, other faces, other places. But in that moment, if you are conscious about it and you do shine the light of consciousness on that situation, on the energy, you step back, you don't get quite as involved in this, then you have the chance to transcend that energy. And it's so easy too. All we have to do is be willing to open to that energy. And then we just simply feel it. We bring love to it. We find out what that energy is wants and we fulfill that within ourselves, and then we shine love and light back to that other person. If someone says something rude to you and you go up against them with more anger, then that's just going to perpetuate those cycles. The two of you are going to clash. But what would happen if someone came up to you with anger and you shined your light and love onto that person? That's going to change that person. That's going to up level that person. They're not going to think of things the same way after that, because even if they don't consciously want to get better and they don't want to heal this stuff in themselves, they're still going to think twice probably before they go up against someone else in that same way, because it's not the response that they expected. And when you don't respond with your anger against theirs, then they have to look at them, because it's so easy to get upset when someone comes at you with anger or hatred. But these are the energies that we're trying to transcend for everyone, right? So when you give love to that person, you're changing their heart, you're changing your heart, and you're changing their heart, because now they don't have your behavior to point the finger at. Maybe before, if you would have got upset, they can shift it over to you and say, well, look how upset you are getting about this. And then they no longer have to look at their behavior because you reacted in anger, and that anger clashed against their anger. Nothing got solved. These scenarios have been played out on our planet for far too long. And there's many, many people who are absolutely ready to step into the love and the light as a human consciousness. And that's what the new earth really is. So you can see how it's so, so important, even as an individual, that you are making a huge difference in our collective consciousness. Our collective consciousness is raising each and every day. And, you might be saying, well, how is our collective consciousness raising when there's wars going on? There's hatred spewing on the internet. There's all of this stuff going on. Well, let me tell you that that is part of this awakening. That is part of our consciousness rising, because all of these energy patterns lie dormant. And since they lie dormant, they're not really visible until those thorns are hit. So you can think of it as having a thorn in the side of your body. And you can read this book called The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. And he explains so well, and this is the analogy that he uses, and I absolutely love the way that he puts everything in that book. It's a book that I read at least once a year if I can. And so he talks about these thorns that we all have. So it's like having a thorn in you, and maybe it doesn't hurt when you're walking around with this thorn in you all day, but somebody bumps up to you and pushes that thorn in, it's going to inflame, it's going to hurt. So that's what I mean by this dormancy of the energies. They're laying dormant. They're laying dormant in you. They're laying dormant in the collective unconscious. And if no one is going to push these, then they don't get healed. They just stay there, and we don't even really realize that they're there. So, what's happening right now on a global level, all of these thorns are being pulled up, they're being triggered, and a lot of energy patterns are coming up in the collective unconscious mind. And this is something that we as humans, we don't have to choose the love and the light. We have free will to choose whatever we want. We have free will to be angry and full of hatred and full of blame and full of jealousy all the time. That's our choice. But as we're moving into New Earth, what that really is all of the people who have committed to clearing these denser energies. What they're doing is they're clearing out those dense energies, and they're making more space in their energy field, in their DNA, for light to be held, for new programs of love and light to change their physical makeup. It changes you at a cellular level. What I also see happening is as more and more people are rising into this higher level of consciousness, it's really going to trigger a lot of unhealed parts of people. And some people are not to the point where this is something that they actively want to transcend. So, what's going to end up happening is they're going to be in pain for a period of time, or possibly they're not going to be able to accept it at all, and they're going to go back home. And what I mean by going back home is transitioning, because we're not all going to survive to be a part of this new earth. Um, and that's just, it's sad. It does bring up a lot of sadness, because you might even have family members who you really love and care about, but you know that they're not going to be able to come into that new earth. But the most powerful thing you can do is live by example and show them that love and give them the opportunity to lift up to those higher levels of consciousness and meet you there. So, the vision that many have for the 5D New Earth is that it's a whole new way of doing things. There's not as many rules or parameters, or there's going to be a lot more bartering, a lot more of seeing value in each person, a lot more basically where everyone has got everyone. And isn't that the world that you want to live in too? It's the world I want to live in, no doubt. This world where you can wake up every day and just be so grateful for everything. And, there's even been talk of in the new earth, food is going to have a higher vibration. There's in the light city of Telos, which is underneath Mount Shasta in California. The foods that are consumed there are just pure high vibration, high frequency nutrition. That's a possibility for us here on this planet. This is going to be heaven on earth. That's what we're working towards as a collective. And no, this is not conditional. You don't need to do any certain thing to be a part of this other than lift your consciousness in the love and light. You think about right now, if let's just think on a smaller scale, what if in your neighborhood every single person was committed to raising their consciousness and handling everything in life with the utmost love, light, service to others, that you are that way, that you would do anything to help anyone else in need, that you all have creative gifts that are you are the only one meant to do a certain thing in a certain way, and everyone was just living that light. That's what New Earth would be like on a global scale. So it's like if everyone in your neighborhood decided, hey, I'm going to be of the love and of the light, that would shift your entire neighborhood in such a huge way. And the consciousness of that neighborhood would be love and light. So when we're thinking about all of this new earth frequency, what we're thinking about is if we added everyone up, everyone's baseline consciousness up, and divided that by how many people you are, that's the collective consciousness average number that you're going to get. And there are ways to gauge this. There are ways to gauge what frequency people are vibrating at. Dr. David Hawkins, in his book Power versus Force, explains all of these different levels of consciousness and how the world looks at all of these different levels of consciousness. Because if you are in a fear state, what you see in front of you is going to reflect that fear. If you're in a love state, conversely, what you're going to see in front of you is going to reflect that state of love. So the new earth is going to operate with those darker and denser energies transmuted in the collective. Does that mean that we'll never be sad again, or we will never have a negative emotion again? Of course not, because we are here in this duality environment, and there's going to be sadness. There's going to be frustrations and things like that, but it's not going to be on the same level that it is right now, because we're going to be all have tools to transcend that into the light. So a lot of people have asked me, do you think that we're going to see New Earth in our lifetime? And my answer to that is we already are seeing New Earth. There's a lot of people who are already living on these upgraded frequencies, are already on these higher timelines leading us to New Earth. That's already happening. All now moments are now moments that are stacked on top of each other. And the new earth is already beginning to shift. That's what we talked about a little bit earlier with all of this combustion in the collective energy field. Yes, it's happening right now as we speak. We're shifting. More of this darker energy is being transcended. In the new earth, there will be absolutely no hatred, though. Hatred will be transcended. Hate is a learned behavior. It's not a natural state of being. It's a state of being that's been taught and it's been passed down from generation to generation. has been perpetuated by where the power has been at in the collective consciousness, that people are starting to see through that. Also, in the new earth, we're becoming more telepathic. You're going to do a lot more communication without words. It's an energy. You're going to feel that love and that energy and that communication. There might already be people in your life who you're in a 5D consciousness relationship with them, and this may already be happening, where you already know what that person's energy is and what they're thinking, and you can intuitively pick that up. So, in the new earth, each individual soul voice is going to be absolutely key because all of these are building blocks for this new up-leveled consciousness. And your soul voice absolutely matters. An older 3D fear construct is not hearing everyone's voice, brainwashing, deception. All of that stuff is going away. So, right now, if you have unhealed trauma and you get really triggered and that unhealed trauma thorn gets pushed, you're going to have an effect on others around you. That trauma spills out on the others around you. So does your love in a much more powerful way. But your trauma is going to affect other people's consciousness. If they're not aligned and they're off balance, they will get pulled into your energy vortex. So you think about any emotion is an energetic vortex. So if you're in an angry mood, you are operating as an energetic vortex of anger. And you're going to pull other people into that anger, and you're going to engage with other people who have unhealed anger. That's how fights start at a bar. Somebody has anger in them, another person has anger in them, and there's no consciousness on that situation, and those patterns play out. So think about that as an incentive to really heal yourself because it is affecting others. It's pulling others into your energetic vortex. Same goes with when you're in a state of love, though. Haven't you noticed when you're in a really high vibrating state of love that everyone around you seems to be vibrating on that frequency, and they just are adding to your joy, adding to that love, adding to that bliss. That's where we want to be. So, anytime that something that doesn't feel so good comes up in us, we can sit with that, we can be present with it, we can bring love to it, we can soothe it. And that's going to help transcend those energies so you can live in your own 5D consciousness. And how you feel dictates how you interpret possibility. So our how we feel is how we know if we're on our way to New Earth. It's so much simpler than you might think. You're already activating 5D light codes by watching videos like this, by studying this type of thing. You're already heading towards New Earth every time you meditate, every time you say something nice to someone else that's genuine, anytime that you clear trauma in yourself, you're heading towards your own new earth. And, in that same regard, we're all individuals And we're all our own universes at the same time as being part of something much bigger and much vaster. So we are also in our own inner universes. So how you feel is what's going to dictate your reality. And how you feel is whether you know whether or not you're heading towards new Earth or old 3D construct Earth. So if you're in lifted states of consciousness and you feel exhilarated, you feel excited for life, you feel full of vitality, bliss, love for yourself and others, and that love is just vibrating out and you're radiating this divine light. Absolutely, you're heading towards New Earth already and keep following that energy. It's going to keep compounding and compounding. And if you could see yourself from space, you would see yourself as this huge glowing light. So that is how you know. And it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong if you feel fear, because those energies are still getting worked out. They're still coming up to be cleansed. Instead, we need to be thankful that it comes up so we can love it through. We don't want to run away from it. We don't want to oppose or resist it. It's not about ignoring these more negative energies. It's about learning how to handle it and how to process it to alchemize it into that pure love energy, because all everything is energy. Everything is consciousness. Energy is transformable. So it's going to transcend if we don't bite the hook of going into that anger. So if we do feel more anger, more negative emotions, we know that we're kind of heading back to fear. The more we engage in those, the more 3D we become, because the more cut off we are from who we really are. Who you really are is a limitless, infinite, divine being. In these avatars, learning these lessons in this earth school right now. But that's all it is. It's not an end all be all. It's just here. It's just what's going on now. And energy is transformable. Everything in your life can be transformed. Nothing is permanent. Everything is impermanent. Everything. Just like what came to mind is an old Buddhist teacher was teaching his students to see a glass as already broken. So let's look at this glass with my iced tea. I could see this as already broken because then I'm going to appreciate it more while it's here. If I know that the nature of life is impermanent and that inevitably this glass is already broken, it's not going to last forever, then yeah, I can enjoy it now because I know there's not an infinite number of times that I will be able to enjoy drinking out of this glass. So, also in 5D New Earth, we're all going to be using our gifts to the fullest potential possible. And what I love about that is because those gifts are already in us. Think about a seed and all of the genetic information that's contained in this tiny little seed. That's in all of us. That's our pure potentialized energies. That greatness is already in you. The blueprint design is already in you. It's just waiting to be activated. And as these more and more of people become activated and connected with their highest intuition their highest self version, think how much light is going to spread all over the planet as a result of this. It is huge. So I think that's where we'll stop today. As always, it's great to hear from you, and we're going to go in next time and talk more about how you can come into this, how you can live this even more. So have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Have a great day. Talk soon.